Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how to deploy our MERN full stack application. But if you're wondering to deploy the codes that are beyond the MERN stack, so please don't panic. This video is also for you because most of the contents covered in this video can be applicable for any programming language. If this is the first time for you visiting my channel, so please make sure that you subscribe my channel and press the bell icon in order to be notified about new updates. For the couple of next few minutes, I'm going to use different servers for deploying and storing our data. I'm going to use Mongodb Atlas as a cloud storage for storing our data and deploy our Node.js and Express backend code to Heroku, and our React and frontend code will be deployed to Firebase. So let's first see our application that I will later on deploy. This is the application that I will use to deploy. And as you can see, this is a simple to-do app which can perform the CRUD operations. We can add, for example, let's see, hello, and can delete or update all the tasks that we have created over here. Or we can also send them to the done page. For example, if I press done, so it will come to this page. Now let me show you the backend and the database connection code. This is the backend code for my to-do app, and as you can see, Mongoose.connect is the function for connecting with my MongoDB in my local machine. So now let's change this database into a cloud storage database and start with MongoDb Atlas. All right, so you can search for MongoDb Atlas in the Google and simply select the first search result. As you can see, this is the official site for Mongodb Atlas, and you can also select try free here. If this is the first time for you joining Mongodb Atlas, you can sign up with Google, or you can create an account for yourself. As I have already created my account, so I'm gonna press sign in. And provide my email address here. Press next. And the corresponding password. Press login. I'm logged in. Here are a couple of things I need to perform. The first thing is to build a database. MongoDB Atlas also has paid plans which can be applicable in your scenario, but in my case, I'm gonna create a free version. And you can see you can also select a cloud provider, AWS, Google Cloud, or Azure. So I'm gonna randomly select one, this one, and create cluster. Scroll down and leave the things as they are, finish and close. Go to databases. Creating a cluster will make some time, so until it's been created, let's configure database access. This is the place where you can create users for your database. So I'm gonna add a new user for our to-do app. Username will be to-do_user. In the password, to generate a very secure password, so I'm gonna select auto generate. Show. I want to copy this password because later on we are gonna use it. And simply paste it here. Come back. Scroll down and add user. So to-do user is getting added. Let's come to network access and configure it as well. This is the place where you can provide IP addresses which will be able to access your database. Add IP address. Here you have two choices. The first, add current IP address, which will allow you to add your current IP or allow access from anywhere. In my scenario, I'm going to allow access from anywhere, which includes my current IP address as well. And then press confirm. It's pending, and after a few seconds, it will be active. Good job. So our IP address list is active now. Let's come back to databases and see whether our cluster is created or not. Cool. So our cluster is created. Now come to browse collections. Add my own data. Here we can provide our database name. In my case, the database name for my app is going to be to do, and the collection name also to do. Create. It is creating a database. Now we have created a database with the name of to do. Good. Now let's go one step backward and press the connect button here. As you can see, connect with Mongodb Shell, connect your application, connect using MongoDB Compass. As I want to connect my application, so I'm going to select this option. Here you can provide your driver if you're working with Perl, PHP, Python, Ruby, Node.js, or any other programming language. You can select your language. As I'm using Node.js, the JavaScript, so I'm going to use Node.js and the version. Here, MongoDB will generate a connection string for you, which you can use to connect with your database. So I'm gonna copy it and come to our backend and replace it with our local DB string. Here are a few things that you need to change. The first thing is to replace this username with your actual username. For example, to do underscore user, and replace this password that we have saved for our to do user with this one. And you can also replace the database name. Here, my first database is the default name, but we have created a database with the name of to do. Let's restart the server. So you can see that we have connected with our MongoDB in the cloud. To test, let's come to our front end and send some data to it. So I just want to send new files. Add. The data is added. To check whether the data has come to the MongoDB Atlas or not, so let's come to MongoDB and see if we have the collection. Browse for to do. Good. So as you can see, the title send new files and its status is undone. It means that we have sent our data from the front end to our cloud storage MongoDB Atlas. All the things are done for our DB part. So it's time to prepare our backend for deployment. As we have aimed to deploy our Node.js backend code to Heroku, you can type Heroku in Google and select the first search result. Heroku is a cloud platform as a service supporting several programming languages, and creating an account in Heroku is quite simple, easy, and free. You can sign up and register yourself. As I have already created my account, so I'm gonna press log in. Provide my email address and the password. Press log in. All right, so I'm logged in. Another thing you need to install is Heroku CLI. Heroku CLI is the command line for Heroku. You can install it based on your operating system. If you're a Mac or a Unix user, you can select these options. As I'm using it in Windows, so I'm gonna scroll down and install it through npm. As I have installed Node and Node installs npm in my machine, I'm gonna install it globally. Copy this code, come to backend, and paste it in the terminal. Press enter. Of course, it will take some time, so you have to wait for it a few seconds. Good, so I have installed the Heroku CLI. To check the version, Heroku minus or dash v, which will tell us about the version. So I have installed this version. Now we need to log into Heroku CLI. So I'm going to type Heroku login. We can type any key except Q in order to take us to the browser. Here we are, and press login. So we are logged in. If we come to the terminal, it is said logged in as Bashir Irshad. In order to deploy our app to Heroku, first we need to add our source code to a Git repository. What is Git? I will cover it in the next few seconds. Git is a very powerful and popular version control system used by almost 99% of the projects today in the world. We can actually put our code in Git and see what changes has become over time. We can see who changed what and when. You can learn more about Git in git-scm.com. This is the official site for Git, and you can also download the proper version for your operating system. As a developer, you must know about Git, and Git have to be installed in your machine. I don't want to talk more about Git because that would be beyond the scope of this video. So you have to download Git for your local machine, which will be used in the process of deployment. Once you have downloaded and installed Git in your machine, you can type in terminal git --version to see its installed version. In my machine, 2.21 version is installed. Now let's create .gitignore file. .gitignore. This is just an extension and it doesn't have any name. In the .gitignore file, we tell Git that it should ignore the node modules, this folder, node_modules, and we have to put a trailing slash after it, save it, and come back to our terminal. Type git init. This will initialize a repository for us. Press enter. Type git add dot to add all the files, and now commit. So type git commit -m, which is used for message, initial commit, or you can also specify any other message that you prefer and press enter. So as you can see here, 2 files changed, 4 insertions and 7 deletions. All the files are committed to our repository except the gitignore file, which contains node modules. Now to create a Heroku repository, we can write here Heroku create, which will create an app for us. As you see, Heroku created a folder for us, which is named Fatmolis Water with this ID. This is the link of the folder for us. And this is the link of the Git repository where our folder will be placed. Now let's see if we have a folder created with Fathomless Waters. Open our Heroku. Here it is. Let's see if we have the folder. So we have a project named Fathomless Waters. It is created. Now let's create an environment variable for our Heroku app. As we have this connection string in our backend, but Heroku does not know this string. Instead, Heroku can work with environment variables. So we have to create an environment variables for our app. Click this folder. come to settings, scroll down, and reveal config vars. Here we can provide the key and the value. I'm going to provide a key, for example, to_do_db, and the value will be this connection string. I'm going to copy this, Control C, and bring it here. Add this environment variable. Now we need to configure environment variables for our production and development stage. To do so, I have installed a Node module called config with two files, default.json, which contains the db environment variable, which will be used in my development stage, and the custom environment variable.json file will contain the db environment variable that I will use in the production. As you saw earlier in the Heroku, I added an environment variable called to_do_db. So I'm going to write that here and press Ctrl S. Now to import these files into my main index.js file, I have to require the config module. Get rid of this password and write const db assign a variable config.get. Get is a method which enables us to access our environment variables. After that, instead of all this long connection string, I can simply write db. Save the changes. Another thing we need to do is in package.json. Instead of nodemon, we have to write node, because Heroku cannot work with nodemon, and that can work with node only. So save the changes, come to the terminal and add all the changes to Git. And now commit the changes with a message changed something extra. But you can also write a very meaningful message. Now tell the Git to push the Heroku, our master. This will push our code to Heroku. It failed. Let's try once again. Okay, so we are deploying our code to Heroku. The files are uploaded and they are compressing. To make sure that we have uploaded all our files and there are no bugs and errors, we can write Heroku open. As you can see, cannot get slash. Now we need to change something in the URL. Just write API/to-do, press enter, and there you go. We have all the data that we had in our Mongodb Atlas. We have to save this URL, which will be used as an API URL in our front-end React.js code. So let's start deploying our front-end React.js code to Firebase. As you can see, I'm in the front-end React.js code. For the front-end, we also need to have environment variables for our development stage as well as for our production. In my development stage, I have my local API URL, and for my production stage, I have to paste the URL that I copied from the Heroku. Keep in mind that this URL have to finish with API and you follow the same naming convention. Another thing you have to be aware of is to access these URLs by providing process.env.react_app_backend URL, as I have written the same name over in my environment variables. To test whether it works or not, let's install a dependency called serve. Serve is a simple server which we can use locally for the purpose of testing. To install this package, open your project, type npm install serve. If you'd like to install this server globally, you can write -g so that you can use it in other projects as well. Good, so I have installed serve. Now you can type npm run build to create a build project. All right, build folder is created. Let's refresh our project, and there you go. So now let's change our directory to build, cd build, and simply type serve. We can open our project on this link, and there you go. We have the data from our database. So we actually now communicating with our backend and our database. Let's add coding input. We have added a new task. Let's see if we have received our data into our database. And there you go. We have received our data into our cloud MongoDB. Let's now deploy our front-end code to Firebase. Firebase is a platform from the Google company used for creating mobile and web applications. If you want to log in into Firebase, you must have a Google account. Once you're logged in, you can get started. And here you can create a project. You can name your project. In my case, I'm going to name it to do. Press continue, scroll down. Again, continue, select an account, the default account for Firebase. Now my project is going to create. Nice, my project is created. Press continue. There you go. This is my project. Another thing we have to install is the Firebase CLI. Open this link. Here you have to specify your operating system. In my case, it is Windows, so I'm going to select Windows. You can install it using npm or installing through standalone binary. In my case, I'm not going to install any of them because I have already installed Firebase CLI. Firebase login command will enable you to log in into your Firebase account, and Firebase Init will initialize a project for you. So let's come to our front-end code, clear all this stuff, and write Firebase login. Press enter. As you can see, it is asking for allowance, so I'm gonna write yes. I'm gonna select my account. Scroll down and allow them. And I'm successfully logged in. Here you can see I'm logged in with my email. Now let's type Firebase init to initialize a project for us in Firebase. Press enter. Are you ready to proceed? Yes. Here we have selections. So as I am deploying my app, I'm gonna select this option using space. Use an existing project, or if you're creating a new project, you can select the next option. So I'm gonna select use an existing project. To do is used as default project for this directory. Here it is asking about our public directory. So in our project, we have to select build as our public directory. Configure a single page app? Yes. Set up automatic builds and deploy with GitHub. For this project, I'm going to select no. File build index HTML already exists. Overwrite. In this place, it is a little bit tricky, so you have to select no, because if you type yes, Firebase will put its own index file, which is not required in this case. So we should select N for no. Firebase initialization completed. The final step is to write Firebase Deploy. Now we want to deploy our codes. Press enter. As you see, it's adding files. And as you can see, we have deployed our frontend project to this URL. So let's click on this URL and see whether it works or no. There you go. So we have uploaded our code to Firebase, the front end. Let's add a new task. For example, eat early. The task is added. Let's delete some tasks. So they are deleted. Until this place, we successfully deployed our front-end code to Firebase.